What's up, guys? Here's a fireside chat. So this somebody's asking me some questions, and I was thinking to myself, basically the question was like, how do you find time to read so much? And like I get a lot of interesting questions by folks because I'll be honest with you, we and I live a little bit differently than the regular world. And we've been doing that for a while now, right? There's a lot of stuff we participate in, but there's also a lot of stuff we do not participate in. And I personally don't participate in. For example, like TV. I mean, we haven't had TV in a long time. That doesn't mean I don't, watch other stuff or like movies or something like that, but there's a spot for it. Um, so really what we're looking at here is you guys can start building your lives, not as much like you could build your lives on based upon the stuff that you do, but you guys could start building your life around the things that you don't do. So things I don't do and that allow me to have a ton of time. Like we don't watch TV. And when we do watch a movie or something like that, it's very carefully chosen and curated and something that uh, has some sort of value, et cetera, et cetera. That's definitely one thing that we don't do. We don't watch TV. We also don't eat a ton of kind of quote unquote what we call around here is factory food. Like there's a time and a place for factory food, but there's not a an overconsumption of highly processed things in my house. We don't do that. I mean, there are snacks. There's stuff that comes in packages, right? But as far as things go, there's a lot more making of meals and making of snacks and making granola and making bread and making all sorts of different things. So that's one thing that we do not do. I don't drink. We don't drink around here, and it's not because I'm a teetotaler or something like that. But I just found I perform a lot better. I feel better if I don't drink. So drinking is reserved for a handful of times or less per year, and it's usually in pretty serious moderation, right? It's like a social time, celebration, Easter, Christmas, something along those lines. That's it. So that's something we don't do. We also, what else do we don't do? It opens, when you don't do stuff, it opens serious time to pursue your interests, like real interests. So one of my interests is reading. I love reading history. I love reading history books. So I have a ton of time to read a lot of history. So when you're not drinking and you're eating clean and you're going to bed at a reasonable time and you're not watching TV because it's keeping you up and you go to sleep at a reasonable time, you get up at a reasonable time, which means my morning routine is I have a ton of time to read. So every morning I wake up, grab my coffee, I do my prayers, I read the Bible. Then I have some sort of reading that I'm doing, some sort of uh, and what interests me is kind of educational books. So, for example, like right now, I'm reading Josephus, the whole thing cover to cover. Easy peasy. Before that, I just reread the Council of Trent. Why not? I'm reading, oh my gosh, who's that guy? The Roman historian, not the bad one, Gibbons, not the rework of Roman history. Livy, excuse me, Livy. You end up having a lot of time for books because you're not watching TV, you're not doing these other things, you don't have drinks, you're waking up early and the TV's not on. You have books. The other thing that it leads to is your family starts spending a lot of time together. So I've made a video about this as well because we're not doing all these things, all the things that we don't do. It allows us to do things that we do. Anyway, but the point is, we just got done with the whole entire series of Narnia. Read it to the kids. I read it. I got to read it for the first time as an adult. It's amazing. Kids love it. It is theologically correct, as I said. It's good. It holds their attention. So I'm reading it, we're reading it aloud to a 4-year-old and a 6 or just turned 7-year-old. So it's very, very engaging. So we don't watch a lot of movies. The kids don't have screen time. We have book time. So that changes things too. That reading out loud, their vocabulary will blow up too, and yours as well. You have a stellar vocabulary, and the games that they come up with the imagination is truly, truly amazing. Because we're not watching shows, we're not watching TV, we're not watching a lot of movies. And I'm not saying there's not a place for that. There's not a movie night that's scheduled in, but it's we cultivate the movie night. It's within reason, and it's a movie within reason, and it's our TV shows are within reason. If the kids are gonna enjoy something, like everything's kind of within moderation. The other thing that we're reading now too, and I never thought I'd be reading this, but it's a great story, is Little Women. Who knew? Just got a copy of Little Women, just reading it, and the kids like that. They like it quite a bit. It teaches a lot of lessons and also vocabulary, and it aligns with other books like The Pilgrim's Progress. And we got a ton of children's books that we read, the Iliad, the Odyssey, and Persephone's, and so we're learning a ton of history just through reading a ton of legends. I also have a lot of time to read other books I like, books on military, the Iliad, the Odyssey, De Re Militari. You've heard me talk about the Rule of Saint Benedict. What else am I reading? I got General Petraeus's book a while back on counterinsurgency, which is really good, because you have to realize, guys, these books, the idea in a lot of the military books, correspond perfectly well to your life as a man, the disciplining that you need as a man, the disciplining that your house needs, that you need to provide the house, the leadership of the house, and it also the discipline for kind of the spiritual quote unquote warfare that's going on, right? So you're also protecting your family in that regard, because it's all the same. It's all the same. Spiritual warfare is the same as actual warfare. Like the parallels are the same. I've toyed around with the idea of sitting down and doing it, writing a comparison on spiritual warfare and linked up with Saint Benedict's rule. I mean, they're both militaristic. The other thing, guys, is the church, and I'm talking about the Latin church, like the traditional Latin Mass. It's very masculine and it's very militaristic when it's done. There's a lot of movement, the preciseness of the movements, the preciseness of the hands, the preciseness of the altar servers. It's very, very precise and militaristic. So there's a lot of things in life that we don't do. And that affords you a lot of time for stuff that you can do and that you want to do. But you got to put these things away. Big one for a lot of folks, and especially me, I get sucked into this thing too, is the phone, right? It's easy to whatever you're looking on. I don't know what you guys are looking on. Instagram, I don't know, YouTube, obviously, Twitter, whatever it is. There's a lot of scroll, and I catch myself on the scroll too, and it's a dangerous, dangerous thing on the scroll. You can get lost on the scroll. Even if it's like you intend to do something good, you get lost into kind of almost like the sin of curiosity, the sin of just, idleness and sloth very, very quickly. It's engineered to take your attention from you and monetize your attention. That's literally what it's meant to do. That's why it's free. That's why it's free to watch all these things, because it's taking from you. Your attention, your time, it is taking from you. So guys, think about that. And I just put rules on mine. I got to shut it off. I shut it off. I don't even store it. I don't store it in the bedroom. I don't I don't sleep with it. You know, a lot of people do that. Like when you put a phone under your pillow or on your nightstand, that's odd. I'm just saying, like that's one thing we don't do. Don't do it. I don't turn this thing on till 7:30 in the morning unless it's like a business trip or something like that. I do my darndest to turn it off at the end of the workday. So things that you don't do. What else do we not do? The point is you can start cultivating your life and have a very, very exceptional life. Just start making a list of all the things you don't do. Don't drink. Don't eat crappy food. Don't eat factory food very often. Don't get hooked onto sports. I mean, that's a huge time sucker. Don't get hooked onto video games. I heard a lot of you guys like video games. I don't get it, man. I played video games when I was a teenager. Like I think you can grow out of it, right? Um, Start figuring out all the stuff that you don't do. And you don't have to do it all today, but you got to start somewhere. You got to start dialing it back. I remember I dialed back TV. The first way I dialed it back was I was like, I'm not going to watch TV during the day, period, under any circumstances. Not on Saturday, not on Sunday. The TV is just not going to be on during the day. Then the TV went from not being on during the day to we're not watching TV during the week. That's real easy to implement after you're not doing it during the day. You're just like not doing it Monday through Thursday. And then we can watch TV Friday, Saturday, Sunday, only in the evenings. And then you end up dialing that back, and before you know it, you're free, like within a very short amount of time, and it's not a struggle to your family. Just like screen time, like maybe you just make a rule with your screen time. I'm not going to do it, these times, or I'm not going to. So when the tide changes, it changes all the way. And for you guys out there, especially with families, right? If you are the head of the family, the leader of the family, you, not as a dictator, but you as a good king with the sovereign king above you, right? So God above you, have to start leading your family appropriately. Like if you guys aren't eating dinner together as a family, you got to fix that, man. You got to fix that. If your home is chaotic, you got to fix that. If your kids are disobedient, you got to fix that. That's up to you, but you got to start here first. Like you got to start with you. So I always say the best way to do that is to, kind of get churched up. I mean that sincerely, and that takes a while. And start really leading yourself, figuring out your vices. It doesn't take long to figure out your vices. We talked about this. It's just a few minutes. It's a few minutes with you and no device in front of you and no distraction. And probably in 8 minutes, your hand will be so tired from writing the vices that you need to correct that it'll hurt. It'll hurt. And so figure out your vices and then figure out the virtues that you kind of need to build. So you got to lead from you first, and then you can lead everything else. But all those tiny little changes, the things that you don't do, you got to start implementing and lead appropriately. So for you young guys out there, you got to start leading yourself appropriately. So one day you will be a good husband and a good father. The world needs more good husbands and good fathers and strong men. And that's the truth. That's 100% the truth. Like what's going on in society right now in culture is due to a lack of religion and a lack of men. A lack of strong men, strong fathers, good fathers. Good fathers, good men, and a lack of religion. So that's it for now for the whatever public service announcement fireside chat. I don't know what I called it. Anyway, out.